Welcome to the Comic Sauce Podcast, where we talk comics and comics culture. I am your host, Porfirio Rangel, and today I am joined by Henry Liu. Hey, Henry, how's it going?
Hello, hello. It's going well. Good to be here.
Good to have you. And I'm also joined by Christian Diadamo. Hey, Christian, how are you?
Sup, 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 doing well.
Cool, cool. So today is Friday, August 22nd, 2025, and we are talking Comic Cons. We're talking the do's, the don'ts, the advice, the cosplays, the food, the eating, everything, all the above. We're gonna go jump right into it. We are by no means experts in any of this, but we've had our fair share of going to cons, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's been a lot of stuff we've learned from going to all these cons. So I guess the first question I want to start us off with is, Henry, when was your first con?
My first con. Yes, I had to dig deep and research this one a little bit. But I think I mentioned this before where we did a WonderCon recap a while ago, and I was really excited to have done a panel at a recent WonderCon, right? And it was a cool full circle moment because as it turns out, my first ever con was WonderCon way back in 1991
Oh,
in
wow.
Oakland, California at the Oakland Convention Center. And we're still calling these things comic conventions, but comics aren't really as much a part of them as they used to be, before it literally was like a room full of comics and comics creators and not a whole lot else, right? And that was very much what that WonderCon 91 was. I remember Jim Lee was there among other very cool comics creators. But yeah, it was really it really was a big room full of comics and cool comics people.
Where
And
was it at?
yeah, it was at the Oakland Convention Center in
Oh,
downtown Oakland. If you recall, there was what they called the San Francisco Comic-Con in Oakland a few years ago. It was that location, the Oakland Convention Center.
okay, got you. What about you, Christian? When was your first Comic-Con?
All right, my first Comic Con was with you. It was Silicon Valley Comic Con. I think it was the very first Silicon Valley Comic Con in 2016.
I do remember that, and I totally forgot it was called that. I was like thinking like, okay, yeah, my first was Silicon, but no, you were right. It was called Silicon Valley Comic Con.
Yeah, I had to like remind myself of that too, because yeah, it was Silicon for a couple years post COVID when they relaunched it,
Yeah,
and and then of course that unfortunately went away after that.
Hmm.
it's been rebranded so many things. Even before it became
Yeah,
Silicon Valley Comic Con, Henry was telling me it was called something else.
yeah, the big wow, I think it was. And now it's basically GalaxyCon. Like it's not
Basically.
affiliated, but GalaxyCon has taken over that space basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Christian, how did you feel during that first time you went?
Let's see. For our first con, like I remember it was like pretty overwhelming. Like there was so much to see, so much to do, so many guest stars. There was a very big wow factor. I wanted to see everything. I wanted to buy everything. I wanted to meet every celebrity. Like the guest list was really long, and like there were a lot of big people there, and like there were all this cool stuff to look at, exhibits, panels. Like it was like it was a lot. It was overwhelming.
No, yeah, I definitely remember both me and you were exactly that word, overwhelmed. We were basically like a kid at a candy store, just being like, "Oh my gosh, look at this," and just being like, "This is so cool," and like, "Oh my gosh, Jeremy Renner's here, Stanley's here," and it was just a lot. We were like so excited, to check everything out.
Mhm.
What about you?
Definitely.
What about you, Henry? How did you feel when you went to your first con? Were you like overwhelmed like me and Christian were?
I was definitely excited, but I wouldn't say overwhelmed
Hmm
because, I mean, when we're talking about like 1991 WonderCon, it's just a very different thing, right?
hmm hmm
And just, you know, going into a big room and flipping through comics is like awesome and a lot of fun, obviously. But it's a different experience than being surrounded by like all these celebrities and huge amounts of people too, right? Like
hmm
the modern convention these days, we equate it with huge crowds and just dealing with just a massive humanity, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, back in the day, it really wasn't quite like that. So a different experience.
Oh, for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I think something that like, something that could be overwhelming is just the list of stuff that you can do. Again, you could check out the exhibit floor, get an autograph, get a photo op, check out any of the panels. It could be a lot. And I think what really helps that what people don't really think of is looking at the program ahead of time and making a schedule. You know,
Hmm.
you you can make an idea of like, okay, this is happening, this person's talking, this kind of panel seems interesting. I'll add it to my like list or my schedule of to check it out. I may or may not get to it, but there's like those like events that you do want to check out or not. So I feel like that's a very underestimated kind of feature to do. It's just making a schedule and looking at the program ahead of time. What do you think, Henry?
Yeah, 100% agree. It does help to do a little bit of homework. I mean, I would say don't obsess over every minute you're going to be there and plan everything out. But I think a little bit of pre-planning can go a long way. Take a glance at the schedule, get an idea of how your day is going to go. I think that can go a long way because,
Yeah,
yeah, otherwise you can get really overwhelmed and you might miss out on some cool stuff, you know?
for sure. And so, Christian, I think, some another thing that people really, I feel, at least for me, forget to do when being just into the moment of everything is just remembering to eat.
Mhm.
Remembering to eat lunch and remembering to just use the restroom. Because, since you're always going from like A to B to C, it's just like, dude, I'm hungry. I need to make time to eat, or you just power through. Like, does that ever happen to you?
Um, I usually make time to eat, I would say, like, there's always, like, the 1 to 2. Thing is, like, I would say lunchtime, because cons usually start in the morning and then they
hmm
end at night, so usually you have dinner after, breakfast before, but the hard part is lunch, because that's usually when the most people are at the convention, and so because it's usually, like, 12 to 2 is when
hmm
you want lunch, and, like, that's kinda when, like, things are really starting to get going at the con. You see the most people there. There's like all these big panels, like so like trying to fit in your lunch around then can be a little difficult. Cause yeah, it's like you said, Porfirio, sometimes you're just like, all right, well, I'm just gonna power through this.
hmm
So like if you can, I would say bring snacks. Like throw granola bars, healthy snacks if you can, of course. But, like, I'd say a good tip is to just bring some snacks, especially from outside, because con food is expensive, especially with snacks, and then it's just like a bag of chips.
hmm
So if you can bring your granola bars and all that to kinda help you power through some of those moments so you can, like, "Okay, this is my lunchtime." It might be generally later than when you would normally eat your lunch, so
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, con food. Do we like it, not like it, Henry?
Well, con food can differ from con to con, but I think basically what you're referring to is like the food they have like right at the con. Like you don't even leave the building, and it's like a little
Hmm.
vendor right nearby. So with that kind of situation, um, I would say not great. Don't expect too much. And if you're like having some challenges deciding what you want to get, I would say always go for the safer bet. If there's a safer bet, go with that option. If you see something like, that might be good, maybe I'll roll the dice. Like, I would say don't roll the dice.
Yeah.
Go with the safer option. I think, among the three of us, we've always talked about like if they have like some sort of chicken tenders situation, that's always a pretty safe way to go. Anytime you're dealing with like I don't know, basically anything else, it's kind of a roll of the dice. So yeah, I think that's my take there.
Yeah, no, go with what you know. Like, yeah, one year I had chicken teriyaki and oof, was it nasty, but I was hungry and there was nothing else.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of time when people do eat, there's always a fucking long ass line, because that's when everybody goes because they're hungry. It could be expensive, and then like, yeah, the quality isn't that good, but I don't know. Is it still worth it, Christian?
If it's what's there, because sometimes you might just not know what food there is around the convention center or
Hmm.
hotel or anything, especially if you're traveling. 'Cause sometimes of course we have our phones and we can see like what food is around us if we
Hmm.
want to go, but sometimes that also takes too much time. There might be
Hmm.
a long line, but you're also walking a lot. So you're like, okay, I can wait in this line and just get these, or I can walk a couple blocks away, get something better, but maybe that would take a little bit too much time out of my schedule.
Hmm.
30 minutes waiting in line, get the food and eating something real quick and getting right back there versus what could be over an hour of like the extra walking. Of
Yeah.
course, that depends on the location where you're at. And some places could be there might not really be anything outside of the convention food.
Yeah, no, I really do want to touch upon that before we move on, but like I can only speak from WonderCon. Like you go outside and they have a cool layout of food trucks and a variety of stuff to choose from. But it's kind
Yeah.
of like you said, you have to walk outside the convention, then go out there and look for a spot to eat. It kind of takes time away, but it is good food and it's pricey, but better than the food they have inside.
Mhm.
But Henry, out of the three of us, you're the only one who's been to San Diego Comic-Con. Like, is that
Yeah.
the same kind of like layout? Like, how's the food situation there?
Good question. And I'm glad we're spending a lot of time talking about food because people don't think about eating when you're going to conventions, and it is pretty essential that you are fed. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about like things that you need to live, right? Going to the bathroom, eating, these are essential
These are
aspects of
these are
life.
the topics that you don't really understand until you go through the experience
Yeah,
of going
yeah,
to a con, you
yeah.
know?
Okay, but I'm glad you mentioned San Diego also because San Diego is like a whole different beast, right? Um, there is so much to do. The crowds are pretty insane. So everything we just mentioned is amplified, right? Getting food is harder. Making time for food is harder. So what you mentioned, Christian, like I used to do all the time in San Diego. I would eat breakfast, go to the con, and have an enormous dinner after the con. Lunch, what is that, right? I don't necessarily advocate that so much anymore because um it just can lead to bad things, right? You can get hangry, you can kind of ruin your day that way in a lot of ways. Like if you can do it just right, it can be awesome. Where like I've had some of the best dinners of my life doing that, right? I would have this like awesome day at the con where I'm like not eating because I'm having such a great time, and then I'm just like ravenous after the con, and I would just like go for it and just like just destroy at dinner, right?
Hmm.
I would just like, eat incredible amounts of food. Um, and good times, good memories. Um, but yeah, nowadays I don't really do that as much because
Hmm.
it can lead to bad things. And also, yeah, and maybe more importantly, I don't think I would necessarily recommend that for most people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like we've been saying, like just have a game plan. Like Christian was mentioning, maybe have some snacks on hand. Put it on your schedule. Like, okay, at 12, I will get food. You know,
Because you have nothing else to check out,
yeah,
on your
like okay,
panel.
that goes back to the pre-planning, right? I was like, oh, there's a little lull here. There
Hmm.
isn't a panel I want to check out. There's no like autograph session or photo op that I'm gonna do.
Hmm.
I'm getting food in this period. Um, so yeah, have a game plan. I think that's a good idea.
So at San Diego Comic Con, do they have food trucks there?
Not like the WonderCon
WonderCon. Okay.
situation. So,
Hmm.
yeah, with San Diego, it's really hard because it is an enormous convention, and by
Uh-huh.
enormous, I mean the attendee
Yeah.
volume is enormous, but also just like physically getting from point A to point B can take a long time.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, I think I'm gonna get food now. Like, okay, what does that mean? Like, do I have to like walk like an hour into downtown San Diego
Yeah.
to get something, or do I try to find like one of these like on-site vendors we've been talking about?
Uh-huh.
It's a bit of an ordeal. So that has really led to me like not having dinner or not
Mm.
having lunch at a lot of these San Diego Comic-Con days,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So more reason to just kind of be proactive and plan things out better. And when I say plan things out, it's like not only saying, okay, this time I'm gonna have lunch, but also like know where you're having lunch. Because if you're
Yeah.
just like, okay, let's have lunch at this time, like, okay, where and how are we gonna get there? And do we know where it is? And like,
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
we meeting people? Like, yeah, you
Hmm.
gotta really plan things out.
Christian, you think you could go like do a whole day of a con without eating? If you
Definitely not. I, I couldn't even do half a day. I have to, I have to know like where the food is. Like a lot of times, I find with the one like the food is usually relatively easy to find.
Hmm.
It's usually either in the front or the back, and you usually see a bunch of tables around.
Yeah.
Like it might be like a good idea to just like take note as you're kind of coming in of, oh, that's where the food is.
Hmm.
I know to go back there later when I want to eat.
Hmm.
Of course, when you're hungry and you're like, where is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That doesn't feel good. Also, like I think we mentioned earlier, there usually is a long line,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
especially around lunchtime.
Yeah.
Yep.
So knowing where it is and just getting there, making that easier
For sure.
will definitely save some headaches.
For sure. For sure. So let's kind of move on. And the next thing I want to kind of talk about is maybe budget. Food is definitely on that budget of how much you want to spend, but there's a lot of other expenses that you got to think of. You got to think of travel, hotel, if it's a faraway con, maybe cosplaying, photo ops, autographs, vendors. There's a lot of stuff that you have to take into consideration. So, you know, Henry, out of the three of us, I think you're the one who travels the most to other cons, that are far away, that are not so local. What
Mm-hmm.
advice do you have for when to book a hotel and a flight?
Good questions for sure. Um, so yeah, this kind of goes back to the thing of depends on the con, most of my destination con going has been San Diego Comic-Con, and that
Mhm.
really is like a separate entity because like the badge sales are like almost a year in advance.
Yeah, yeah.
And like getting a badge is like not a guarantee. It's almost like a lottery system. So
Mm,
everything is a big question mark, like getting the badge, getting a hotel, like finding how you're gonna get there. There are a lot of question marks. So um yeah, that like I said, it is different. But like having experienced San Diego Comic-Con a lot has been really good preparation for other cons, right? Because like having done all that, like going to, let's say, WonderCon has been quite easy. It's like, oh, I can get a badge kind of whenever, almost like the day before the convention starts, that they're like pretty much available usually. Getting a hotel like right at the convention center,
yeah.
pretty easy, you know. So these are very different things in San Diego. But with, you know, even with WonderCon and other conventions I've gone to, you still got to do it. And I would say like as early as possible. If you
Mm,
know
hmm
you're going, get those badges, get those tickets.
hmm
When we're talking about a con where you can pre-purchase autographs or photo ops, if you know you absolutely want to do something, get it in advance, you know, like just
Get the
knock
early
it out.
bird special.
Right, right.
Hmm.
Knock it out early.
Hmm
I mean, myself, I'll get the order will basically be like badge, hotel, flight. I don't think
mm
it necessarily needs to be that way, but that seems the most logical for
hmm
me. And in all cases, I would say earlier the better. So, you know, if you kind of feel weird like reaching out to your friends like, "Oh, what do you think about this or that about like a con that's like way in the future?" Like
hmm
me personally, I'm 100% okay with that. It's like, "Oh, we're doing this next year? Fuck yeah, let's start planning it. Let's go," right? And
Uh-huh.
I think you know, for some it might be weird, but like for me it's cool like to have something that far in advance to look forward to. It almost makes it better because as it gets closer, you get more and more hyped, and
Uh,
it's fun. It's part of the experience.
we love a good plan. We love a
Y-
good plan.
Yes, yes.
So, Christian, our first con, like we both said, we were really overwhelmed and there was a lot, and I feel like, at least for me, I felt like I spent a lot of money on like fan art and um, graphic novels and other comics. I spent a lot. What's your advice to like spending at a con? And do you give yourself a budget?
Yeah, like giving yourself a budget beforehand is it's definitely a good idea. Sometimes it can be hard, I will say, because once you get there, you see everything, especially with your first time. I
Hmm
think the more you go, the more you start seeing the same vendors, and you kind of have more of an idea of what you want and what you don't want.
hmm
And so, but like when you see it, you see all this fan art, you might see a bunch of graphic novels or single issues you want, um, Funko Pops, yada yada yada, like signatures.
hmm
So I think one way to budget, what's nice is the signatures, the photo ops, you can budget for ahead of time,
hmm
and you can see, okay, it's gonna be $60 for this, $40 for this, and then you can kind of see how you feel about extras. Of course,
hmm
have a budget for food, because food can also be more than what you want, I would say. Especially because a lot of times you might go out to eat if you're with a group after for dinner.
hmm
You might be grabbing breakfast, especially if you're traveling. You just have the usual travel expenses. So I would say budget for all that stuff before you kind of budget for the fan art, the graphic novels, the toys, the fun stuff from the exhibit floor that really catches your eye. Um, like, I think what you do actually, Porfirio, is very wise, is just to bring cash for that,
hmm
is say, "Okay, I have this much to spend on exhibit floor items. I'm just gonna bring the cash, and once the cash runs out, no more." Because when you have a card, it's very easy to just forget what you're doing.
Give it
You
all.
just
Here's my
scan the
card.
card, here it is, scan the card, here it is, and then you're like, oh, I spent $300 more on what I wanted. And there's a lot of times when we would buy these graphic novels of these great comic books we've always wanted to read, and they sit on our shelf.
Amen.
Same thing with like some really cool fan art.
Yeah.
There's definitely like a bit of buyer's remorse and like the shiny object that you really want, but once you have it, it kind of just sits. It might just sit in your closet.
Hmm.
Everybody who goes to a con is probably guilty of that somewhere.
Oh yeah, I'm raising my hand.
Yep, and I am too.
Yeah, we've all been there.
So bringing cash really helps. As well as I think what we also do is it takes time to just walk around the exhibit floor, see
Hmm.
what catches your eye, and then
Hmm.
think about it. It usually is going to be there because I think the first time we went, we were very unsure of if the thing that we wanted was going to be there later. Most
Hmm.
of the time it was, or it was at a later con. It always depends on what you're going there for.
Hmm.
But most of the time, you'll be fine. You're okay to just think about it, and if you really want it, because you might
I
think of I want this, but you come back and you kind of forget about it. Maybe I didn't want it anyway.
That's definitely something I had to learn how to do. Yeah, like when you first get there, like you said, Christian, check out the floor. If you see something, maybe just have it in your head, take a picture, sleep on it, throughout the day. Um, if you really want it, you'll come back and get it.
Yeah.
What really learned from Henry is that sometimes the best day to buy stuff is on Sunday, because a lot of vendors
Yeah.
and merch, they just want to get rid of their stuff. They don't want to pack everything on the way back home. So sometimes they make deals with you. If you
Yeah.
ask them like, "Hey, I have this, like I see that you have like a two for $25 deal. I have cash. Would you do like three for $35 or something, you
Hmm.
just have to talk to the vendors and then sometimes, yeah, they're willing to do it. Because again, their intention is just to sell and come back home with less stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add, Henry?
Yeah, I did. I'm glad we're talking about budgeting stuff because it's important. And I definitely agree with what you guys have mentioned. It's important to set a budget, not go too crazy, maybe walk around a bit and, think about things before you make impulse buys, all that stuff. But on the other side of it, I wanted to mention that, if you do go a little overboard with your spending at cons, not to be a big enabler, but I don't think it's the worst thing because if you're spending money at cons, to me, it's a lot better than, let's say, spending money on
Amazon.
Amazon shit, right?
Hmm.
Like lining the pockets of Jeff Bezos, right? Like when you're spending money at a con, for the most part, it's going back into this community we love, right? These aren't big mega corporations. A lot of them are just like people there for the love of it, comics resellers, or like aspiring artists just putting their stuff out there. So, do we get shit that we bring home and later it's like, this is just kind of taking up space and why did I get this? Like even stuff like that, I kind of feel like pretty good about because it's like, oh, like I'm just like supporting this cool community. And guess what? When you spend dollars at cons, you're keeping the con alive, right? So these cons are not easy to put on, and they need fans to be spending money. And like, let's not get crazy and go overboard on our budgets. But I, for one, say it's okay to spend a lot of money at cons because uh the people who sell stuff at cons are generally awesome people, and I for one love to support that community.
For sure. I could agree with the points that you're saying,
Yeah.
Henry. Um, so let's talk about another very fun aspect at Comic-Con, and that's cosplaying. What is cosplaying? You dress up as a character. and it's a lot of fun. Do you remember your first time that you cosplayed, Henry?
Yeah, I definitely thought about this question some, and like I guess technically the first time I cosplayed was Halloween, and I do consider Halloween cosplaying for sure, you know.
But for a
So
con, though.
yeah, for a con.
Uh,
That's the question, right? So
uh.
just wanted to get that out of the way because I do count Halloween as cosplay,
Oh,
and
for sure, for sure.
like, as background, I did dress up for Halloween a lot when I was a kid, and those are some of my fondest childhood memories. So it's probably not a big surprise that I still cosplay to this day, not just for Halloween, right? So I guess my first official cosplay at a con would be San Diego 2013, Captain America, the
Mm,
first Avenger. Yep. So yeah, that was definitely my first cosplay at a con, and probably like the most legit cosplay I had done uh to date at that time.
cool. What about you, Christian? Do you remember your first cosplay?
Yeah, my first convention cosplay was the Riddler.
Mm.
Nice.
It was born out of a Halloween costume.
Ah,
Uh,
see?
it was a spur of the moment thing because you were gonna cosplay Porfirio and you had set everything up and it looked cool and I was like, oh man, I want to do that. That looks like fun. We saw it when we first went and we didn't cosplay, but we like it looked really cool. Like, and you
Hmm.
see all these great costumes. It looks like they're having more fun, and like it's like, oh, let's try that. You kind of did that, and so I kind of dug it out of my closet as like,
Hmm.
oh crap, you're gonna cosplay. Well, I want to cosplay too.
Hmm.
I have a Riddler Halloween costume in my closet. Let me just throw that on, and then I'll be so I could be part of the moment. And like it was a lot of fun. Like even though I bought it at like a Spirit Halloween, for the most part, that still works. So I think if I think some advice is that if you want to need an easy place to start, you're not sure. Honestly, looking at Halloween costumes might not be a bad idea.
I just want to point out, like, Christian's cosplay as the Riddler was a hit that year we went. Any cosplay Christian has done has always been a hit. You know, Ned Flanders and the other anime one that you did. I don't know the name, but the one you even did like a whole wallet for, you know?
Oh yeah, Maze Hughes.
Like anything Christian does is somehow a hit, you know? And I want to draw out really one quick story. I don't know if Henry, you were with us or not, but we went to a Steve Young um panel at Silicon Valley Comic Con, and this was when Walking Dead was like its most popular, like peak, you know? And so the line was hecka long to get in. And so the line like wrapped around the corner, and me and Christian were like the first people around the corner, and the volunteer there was like, everybody line up behind the Joker right here. And instantly everybody was booing the volunteer. Everyone's like, dude, that's the Riddler, not the Joker.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh man, that guy got so
The
embarrassed.
guy, oh yeah, he got some heat.
Oh no, yeah, he got some heat.
But yeah, like Christian, yeah, I remember our very first con. We did not cosplay at all, and I was very interested. I didn't know what to expect or how to do it, but the following year was my first time cosplaying. Did Cassian Andor from Rogue One. I swear, like if you looked at me from far away, you would have not known who it was because I just wore everyday clothes. Like it was like a brown denim jacket, a tan shirt, brown pants, black boots. Like it looked like everyday wear, but it was a lot of fun. And you know, I've evolved since then, but it definitely is a lot of fun.
It is, yeah. Like I wouldn't say it's a requirement, of course. It's definitely
Hmm.
not. You don't have to if you don't want to, or it could be either you're not interested or you're not ready yet to dive
Hmm.
into it.
Hmm.
But it is fun. It does add an extra layer to the entire
Hmm.
experience.
It does, yeah.
Yep.
So my cosplay journey has been, pre-pandemic, I feel like has been just kind of like throwing on clothes that makes a character, you know? But then the pandemic's when I experimented a little bit more because I got a little bit of money from that unemployment check, you know? So I got to buy some stuff to actually make looks. And now post-pan or when stuff started opening up, that's when I feel like I've really gotten to like a little bit more cosplaying, like getting accessories, the details, the shoes, you know? And so I feel like I've gotten a lot better since when I first started. I still have a lot more work to do, but I've that's been my cosplay journey. Henry, do you want to talk about yours? How's your cosplay journey been? Do you have any favorite cosplays that you like doing?
Yeah, sure. So I've definitely continued cosplaying through the years, and like you guys been saying, it's just a lot of fun. You don't have to do it at a con, but it's generally just a really good time. And especially now, I don't think there is as much an issue with cosplay as before. I mean, there are still issues, don't get me wrong. But the whole like freak show aspect of it is not as much a thing now, and it's
Mm-hmm.
generally, if you cosplay at a convention, you will feel very welcome and embraced. That's been my experience, and yeah, no, I've really embraced it. I'm part of a cosplay volunteer group now, the West Coast Avengers, and that has been really wonderful in a lot of different ways. um, we meet up at cons, we do volunteer events, and that has all been like really fantastic. Favorite cosplays, like I've definitely had a few I've done on more than one occasion, and I think the costume I've worn the most at cons is my Bucky Barnes Winter Soldier costume. So that would
Mm-hmm.
probably be my pick for favorite, for numbers alone. Just like have you used it that much, and it does make me think about like the question of what character should you cosplay as, right? Um, so different people cosplay for different reasons, but for me, it's really like a character that is meaningful to me,
Mm-hmm.
like for some obvious reasons, like the Winter Soldier just so happens to be the central character in one of my favorite all-time movies, right? So that's a big
Mm-hmm.
reason. But the
Mm-hmm.
character himself is meaningful, and just the legacy of Captain America in general is
Mm-hmm.
meaningful to me. So yeah, that's a big part of it. Like I feel like um, I've definitely done costumes that were like targeted at being, oh, this one's gonna be a hit. Like I think people are gonna like this. I'm gonna get a lot of attention, right? Um, and like that has gone well, but uh, to me, it's not as special an experience as if I pick a character that is particularly meaningful to me. So I'm being kind of vague, but yeah, let me get specific. So, um, let's go back to WonderCon a few years ago. The three of us did attend a really awesome X-Men
Mm-hmm.
97
Mm-hmm.
panel, right? It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like one of the best panels we've ever been to. I think we can all agree.
Amen.
And it was just on fire from beginning to end. One thing I noticed, oh, they did something really cool at that panel. Before the panel even started, they called out cosplayers, right? They're like, okay, let's see all the storms, and the storm cosplayers came around, did photos, and this just uproarious applause and love from the crowd. And they just went down the line. And I noticed that pretty much all the major characters of X-Men 97 had cosplayers representing, with one exception, and that was Morph. There was not a
Yeah.
single Morph cosplayer. So that kind of planted a seed. I'm like, oh shit, like if I did Morph, I bet you that would be a big fucking hit. Like Because like if I was Morph at this con and I was the only Morph cosplayer, like I think I would get like a lot of attention, right? So that was my plan. Um, and I'm not saying like I dislike Morph or I'm like not a fan of X-Men 97. I'm just saying like that particular character isn't, let's say, as meaningful to me as the Winter Soldier, right? Just for example. Um, so cut to later, um, I did get a morph costume and I put it together. It was not easy. Like you can't just get that out of the box, right? So I had to like
Hmm.
assemble all kinds of different pieces and a little bit of trial and error, put it together. And then I tried it out even before the next year's WonderCon. Like my goal was like, okay, the next year WonderCon, I'm gonna do this. And I was even like, hey, let's do an X-Men team up with you guys, and we did do that. But before that, I went to San Diego Comic Con. So like the summer after that WonderCon panel we talked about, I did my Morph cosplay, and I'm telling you, the desired effect happened. Like, I got so much fucking attention in that morph costume. I was the only morph cosplayer there. I went to an X-Men panel and an X-Men photo shoot, and like, it was just buzzing with activity. People like coming up to me wanting photos and just like wanting to talk to me, and just, it was like pretty amazing.
Mm.
And I'm not saying like that wasn't a special experience. But uh I will go back to what I mentioned. Like, it was kind of more special when I was really embodying the character that I like felt more of a connection with, right? So I don't know if this is all making much sense, but bottom line is like personally, I would lean more towards characters that you like, really connect with rather than, um, oh, I think this would generate a lot of buzz, right? Like because I did it the right way. I like chose a character and my game plan was almost like executed to perfection. It really worked. And I was still like, "Oh, I think I still had more fun doing Bucky like in the past, right?" So that's my little tidbit of cosplay advice there.
Cool, cool. Christian, what what do you think of when you're choosing characters to cosplay?
Um, like I would say for me personally, what I like to do is I like to find characters that I kind of look like already and
Hmm.
base my cosplay around that.
Uh-huh.
Um, and think, okay, how do I uh, embody myself to look exactly like this character? I'm already like partway there with just who I am.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's a bit different than Henry's philosophy. Of course, it's already gonna be from something you like, you know.
Hmm.
It would only be from a property I'm already like personally invested in. Because like you know, you mentioned Ned Flanders earlier. I do really like the character of Ned Flanders. I think he's really funny. But like he's also a Simpson, and I'm a huge Simpsons fan. But
Hmm.
like he's not my favorite character, you know. But like I don't think a Bart costume would look really good.
Hmm.
But I think, oh well, I already kind of I have the brown hair, I got some glasses. I think I can do the mustache if I just shave a certain way,
Hmm.
and I just buy the clothes. And I did it, and it looked really really good. I was like very pleased with it, and
Yeah.
like that would probably be my favorite one that I've done because I think with that, like it's just fun to do the Ned Flanders quotes, and people come up to you and they want to do their Simpsons quotes too,
Hmm.
and so you get these fans because the Simpsons is kind of it's really hard to cosplay, and it's mostly just regular people with regular
Hmm.
clothes, so it's not the thing that would translate, but you do have some iconic looks within that, and I think Ned Flanders is one of the characters. And so, like, when people, like, catch it, they, like, wanna come up to you and, like, say the lines, you know? "Say the line, Ned." And so they would, "Oakley dokley," and they get a hit they get a real kick out of that, and they think it's, like, really, really funny.
Yeah, that's definitely a joy, of cosplay. I give you major props, Christian, because I cannot do that. I cannot stay in character. But when you interact with a cosplay that you like and you want to talk with them and they stay in character, that just makes the Comic-Con experience just even more enjoyable, you know? Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
what what's some advice that you got for like just I guess yeah, staying in character?
I guess first thing is like be invested in the property and the character, you know?
Okay.
Like um make you have to want to cosplay as the character. Don't just cosplay a character that you don't really care about, or you don't really like, you have no investment in the property, but it's
Hmm.
popular, kind of
Yeah.
like what Henry was saying, that
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
it's going to be a hit, but I don't really care. Um uh like have some form of investment. It doesn't have to be a lot. It doesn't have to be the thing, your favorite thing of all time,
Hmm.
but have investment of it enough to know to say a line or two. Or it of course depends on the character too. Because The Simpsons in particular is very based on like everyone has like their own little catchphrase and the lines and the bits and all that.
Yeah.
So that one's a very like easy to regurgitate the lines of, and to like stay in character. Where some carriages might be a little harder. Like some, say if you're like a superhero, uh people like, I would say, it's fun to have a bit of the character, know how the character acts, of course, see the movie, watch the show,
Yeah.
like try to
Do your
mimic.
do your research.
Yeah, do your
Hmm.
research, because it does add that extra fun layer, and it kind of makes for the better picture of
Yeah.
how would they pose in a picture
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
well,
Yeah.
and just have fun with it.
Have fun. That's the number one
Yeah.
rule, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I feel like it kind of goes without saying, but sometimes cosplaying can be a little pricey. You know, you're spending on the outfit, on the accessories. Um, you know, it could be a little pricey. Henry, what advice do you have for like where to buy stuff for your cosplay when you're on a little bit of a budget?
Hmm. That is a good question. Maybe not the best question for me because I think I spend way too much money on my cosplay, to be honest. But I 100% think that you don't need to spend a lot of money to have fun cosplaying.
Mhm.
Like, I think, Christian, you just mentioned your Riddler costume was recycled from Halloween and it was like a Spirit Halloween store purchase, right? So, like, that's great. You had a great time with it, and like that's awesome. And I think, you don't need to spend a lot of money. Um, yeah. Oh, well, there's one thing I would say. Uh, I think cosplayers may feel the need that they need to have a new cosplay a lot, you
That's me.
know? That's
That's
fine. I
that's
I
so
have
me.
I have that urge also. But not totally necessary, right? I think it's totally cool to reuse your costumes. And guess what? It's a big money saver, right? Instead of
Hmm.
spending X amount of dollars on a new costume, you can spend exactly $0 on a costume you already have, right? Totally fine. There's no cosplay police who are gonna come after you saying, "Hey, you wore that last time. You can't do that again," right? They're not gonna do that. It's okay. Oh, okay. Here's maybe some good advice in that category. Maybe you're the type of person who's like been there, done that. I'm not gonna like redo something I did previously. Well, something I've been doing a lot of in recent times is reusing costumes, but changing it up a bit, like,
Elevating it up.
yeah. So,
Hmm.
whether it's like a different prop, I do like to cosplay as characters that have weapons.
Hmm.
Change the weapon selection. A character like the Winter Soldier has a whole arsenal of weapons, knives,
Hmm.
pistols, machine guns. Like there's a whole array of weapons to choose from, and it can be kind of fun. You guys have seen me like scour the exhibit floor for like new guns and
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
It's a big joy. And again, instead of starting from scratch, getting a whole new character to spend money on, um, instead of that, oh hey, just a few more bucks. I got a new gun, bro.
Hmm.
And I'm happy. So I guess that might be my tidbit of advice there.
I agree. For me, I where I go to get stuff for my cosplays is Amazon, unfortunately. Just because it's easy and I can find a lot of stuff. But also thrift stores, you know, thrift stores are cheap. If you want something that for just a look, they have that. And then like Henry was saying, just I don't like using I don't like repeating outfits unless I elevate it, like Henry says.
Hmm.
But I do not mind reusing the same accessories, Like
Yes,
I could
yes,
use
yes.
I've used the same yellow gloves for Spider-Woman, for Rogue, for Dark Phoenix.
Hmm.
So I don't mind reusing accessories. So that's very important.
There you go.
Um, but th I do not follow this advice. But Christian, talk about how important comfort is for a
Oh,
cosplay.
yes.
I'm the per
Uh,
I'm not I can't say anything because I'm the person that's like, you know what, for the cosplay, I will fucking high heel boots and be in pain until I'm like, I can't do this. But yeah, you Christian can be a better person than me. Talk about comfort for a cosplay.
yeah, I think comfort is very important. For me, of course, it depends on like what you're cosplaying and um, like what kind of shoes they wear and like how hot the costume is. So like, but I do like to think of comfort, especially when I do the cosplays. Ned Flanders wears regular shoes, so that's very easy to do, as well as just regular clothes. Um, because especially with a con, I think something I didn't realize was just how much walking is involved.
Mm. Yep.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of walking, way more than you realize. Even though there's a lot of time sitting down at
Hmm.
panels and waiting, there's a lot of walking. So I would say have shoes. It's okay to have a backpack with your cosplay. If you're bringing in cosplay, you don't have to only have the outfit. You can wear a backpack.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And in fact, especially if you cosplay, you might not have pockets for your phone and your wallet, and
Yep.
so a backpack, a fanny pack, something to hold everything is a good idea. And of course, if you're having a backpack, especially if you cosplay with hard to wear shoes, bringing a spare pair of like sneakers might be a good idea if you have the room for it.
Hmm.
I would recommend it just to change out once it gets you know, too hard to walk around with.
Hmm.
If you can, sometimes your hotel might be close enough to where you can easily walk back, but it always depends on where you are, where your car might be, or your hotel. So I would say have a plan to have shoes somewhere that you can get them if you're wearing a cosplay with much harder to wear shoes.
Yeah. And then this is pretty much like a VIP, like shout out to your friend. But if you're gonna wear a cosplay that's really hard, like a bodysuit or something that requires a lot of like accessories to take off, your friend is like your VIP to like helping you take it off if you need to use a restroom or whatever. So shout out to your VIP, your friends.
Yeah, that brings a good point because you'll get a costume and you'll be like, oh, the suit looks really rad, but the zipper a lot of time with these bodysuits, the zipper's in the back, and you just can't
Hmm.
do it by yourself.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
it's almost impossible. So having someone that can just help zip you up and zip you down real quick, especially because it's also just it's like this onesie suit. So if you
Yeah.
have to use the bathroom, you need to, how are you gonna get that zipper down?
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Henry, so
Hmm.
I feel like these two items I'm gonna list out right now are two items I feel like we've talked about for what every cosplay player needs. One is deodorant.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, but dude, if you're gonna like wear a cosplay, you're gonna be walking a lot. Deodorant is important.
Yeah.
Let me just re-emphasize that. Deodorant is important. I'm sorry, you're gonna
Yes.
smell. So have
Yeah.
that around. But two, and this goes out to all the guys, please have a dancer's belt.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Nobody wants to see your junk. No, dude. No. I'm sorry.
Yes.
No. So,
Yes, and
um,
yes.
do you want to, yeah, elaborate on that, Henry?
Yeah, definitely. So first off with the deodorant, definitely agree. And I would say deodorant in general for all con goers is a good idea, right? But like you're saying, for cosplayers, especially because in costumes, you will probably sweat more than if you're not wearing a costume. And I would add that also, like, how disappointing would it be if, like, an attendee sees you in costume and is like, loves your costume, loves the character, and like wants to take a picture with you. But then, like, after the fact, they're like, oh, cool costume and I'm happy with the picture I took, but like that guy was pretty smelly. Like you don't want that. Like that would be so disappointing on so many levels. So that's deodorant. Um Dance belt. Okay, let's talk about dance belts. I feel like this is not talked about enough because I see a lot of dudes at conventions with their junk showing way too often, more often than it needs to be. So this goes to all dudes, all biologically uh, male folks out there. Um, you know, all sizes, you need a dance belt. Like it's not like, oh, I'm not packing enough heat to warrant a dance belt. No, you still need a dance belt. It will show, bro. So okay, like and to be more specific, like okay, we're not talking every single cosplayer, right? But we are talking about body suits, right?
Hmm.
Essentially. It might happen in a non-bodysuit cosplay, so be mindful, be careful, take a good hard look in the mirror. But if you're wearing a bodysuit and you are biologically male, I would say pretty much across the board, you need that dance belt. And it's not super uncomfortable. It's just like wearing like a second
Underwear.
pair of underwear is
Hmm.
all it is. It's kind of magical. Like I thought it'd be this hard thing, like a cup, like a supportive cup when you're playing baseball or something. It's not like that. It's just like a second pair of underwear. I don't know how it works really because it's just like this cloth thing, but it does work. And I've been doing it for years now, and it is effective. And I 100% advocate these.
There you go. You heard it first from Henry.
Yes.
So, two main rules I want to talk about really fast before we move on about cosplaying is number one, cosplaying is for everyone. No matter age, sex, race, sexual orientation, cosplays is for anyone. You could be whoever you want. That is the magic of comic conventions, that you could be whoever you want for a day, a weekend, And that's something very magical. And if you're gatekeeping, like, oh, you don't have the right body to be Superman, or you don't, you're too old to play, I don't know, Peter Parker. Like, dude, just come on. Like, who hurt you as a child? Just move on. It's not that serious. It's not that
Hmm.
serious. But two, when you're at a comic convention and you like a cool cosplay, ask if you could take a picture of their cosplay. Cosplay is consent. Like it it's not that hard. You just walk up to them and ask, "Can I take a picture of you?" If they say no, that's totally cool. You move on with your life, you know. Some people don't want to be taking their picture. So those I feel like are two rules that people need to live by when they go to a con. Like, what do you think, Christian?
Yeah, I think those are two pretty good rules. Like always be mindful, always ask, always be cool about it, Don't um don't just take pictures and be respectful of people's spaces.
Mm-hmm. Amen. So, you know, we've I feel like between the three of us, we have stories from cons, you know, good and bad. But do either of you have any horror stories like yeah, just weird, crazy horror stories from from a con experience?
Hmm.
I wanted to bring up. So, you guys know me. I like to be pretty positive. I don't like to dwell on negative stuff, but it does have to be said that the three of us, did go to a con, which was not the best. And there were some specifics to the con which kind of made it a bad experience. So this was 2021 Silicon.
Oh, already know where this is going.
I know you know. Um, but this was an interesting one because it was our first con post COVID, right? I mean, it wasn't even really post COVID. COVID was still a thing, but it was like post lockdown, I would say, right? Um, so number one, it was like a very small con. Very few guests, very few vendors, and it was like a very small scale gathering.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think we did a podcast episode about it, and it, we enjoyed it, and the people there enjoyed it, and really was a thing where like, oh, we need this, like we've been missing this in our lives, right? So I'm not going to downplay that, but there were a few things about it that just made it kind of rough, you know. So this was summer, so it was hot. Summer in San Jose can be pretty toasty. So it
Hmm.
was hot, and California summers are notorious for having wildfires. And during Silicon 2021, it was wildfire season. So the air quality was bad, very bad. So, picture this. You're at a convention, and like I was saying, this is post lockdown, but still COVID season, right? Still COVID times. So, mask requirements were in effect, right? So, indoors, you had to wear a mask. And then, as it turned out, outdoors, you had to wear a mask too because the the air quality was so bad. I'm not talking about some regular old mask. You got to bust out those N95s, right? So it's hot, you're masked all the time, outdoors, indoors. And then, we're talking about making time for lunch. We made time for lunch. But even that was an ordeal because we were like, where should we go to lunch? We all agreed, let's do Jack in the Box, right?
Uh-huh.
Jack in the Box is off site of the San Jose Convention Center. Um, but not too far, a few blocks away. And we went there, and because it's COVID times, the dining area was closed. So we had to like get our food to go. We ate it outside. It was hot, and like the whole time I was thinking, oh shoot, like we have to take our masks off to eat, but it's super hot. I'm sweating, and then the whole time I'm thinking like I'm inhaling this like terrible air quality, and then I'm thinking, okay, once we get back to the convention center, it'll be cooler, but I have to put the mask back on, and like it was just a combination of like fucked up things that was like, this is my life right now. Like, what the hell? So it was like a uniquely shitty time, I guess.
Hmm.
There were some positives to that convention, but that one really stuck out because of like the the um these weird like coincidences of shittiness all happening at once. So it needs to be stated.
I remember that. Yeah, that was bad. That was bad.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. What about you, Christian?
Let's see. That was pretty bad. I think that will always take the cake. I think for me personally, oh man, just getting really, really sick, right?
For
At
for
our
Mm,
WonderCon?
for WonderCon and having the destination con because you have the tickets, you have the flight, and it's like you guys are there. I don't want to disappoint you guys, but
Hmm.
I was like really sick. And I thought I was like, okay, I'll get better. I'll go to the con, and then I just had such an awful time laying in bed, knowing I'm
yeah.
missing. And then when I get there, I'm like, hey, this is great. You know, you're kind of like, but that was really tough. But you know, it's hard when you already made the plans and
Yeah.
like you have the
Hmm.
like. So that was a really unfortunate experience. Getting really sick like right before, and you know, definitely a coincidence. Definitely, you know, a horrible coincidence. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
happened.
Well, for that one, I would say shout out to you, Christian. You were a trooper for that convention,
Christian
and you
pulled
get like,
through.
yeah, you get the purple heart of con
Oh,
goers or something.
you guys are
Um,
troopers for like having to put up with me and all my sickness the
it
entire
was it
time.
was
So
it was a challenge, and I will always cherish the photo we took because this was the X-Men team up we had been planning, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah,
Um, and so for like a year we were trying to make this happen, and like it for you know all intents and purposes it shouldn't have happened, but we made it happen.
We
So when
made
I
it
see that photo, I'm like,
happen.
this photo of the three of us all in X-Men outfits was a lot tougher than you might have thought it would be. So that was it's like an
much
achievement
tougher.
getting that group photo.
Yeah, and seeing it, it was still great to be a part of it. It was still like
Yeah,
the parts of the con I went to. It was still like, ah, hey, this is great. I'm glad I'm here.
Hmm.
right on.
So in a sense, even though I had to put up with all of that and not being able to do that, like the parts that I was at the con and interacting with you guys, going out, and like it was still like worth the entire experience.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. What about any memorable moments that you guys have? I'll start because this is the first one
Hmm.
that came to mind.
Hmm.
I remember it was our very first con. Christian and I had bought the VIP pass to see Stan Lee, which was pretty cool, pretty awesome. And we went to his panel. I don't know, did you go, Henry? I don't think I've ever asked you.
No, I did not attend that particular panel.
Okay, so yeah, Christian and I went, and I was like so close in line to like ask him a question from like the audience. It's just that Stanley was taking forever to answer his questions. Like I was like probably like third up on the mic to ask this question, and then they were like, "Oh, sorry, we have to cut it." So then after the con or after that panel, I went to his daughter's booth because she was selling this autobiography about like growing up with Stan Lee, and which I have not read. I still haven't read to this day, but I went over, I bought the book. I was like next in line to like get her autograph, and like then all of a sudden like a big crowd behind me starts like trying to like rush in, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? Next thing I know, like some bodyguards are like kind of like moving people aside so Stan Lee can make his way through. And then like he comes to his daughter's booth, and then like Stanley's like manager's like, "Oh my gosh, let's take a picture of you two together with her book." And he looks around, he's like, "Where's one of her books?" And he sees me and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna take your book." And then he takes gives it to Stanley. So it's a photo of them holding her book together. And then like so I was like really up close right there when it all happened. And then afterwards the manager was like, "Oh, whose book is this?" And I was like, "That's mine. That's my book." And then I got her to sign it. So, but that was like crazy, like the stars just aligned that day of like me getting to be right there next to Stanley.
Awesome.
Yeah, brushed with greatness. You know, you can
Yeah,
never
yeah,
wash those hands again.
right. What about you, Christian?
Let's see. Like the big memories, I'd say like the ones, of course, that come to mind are, of course, like the big fun celebrity panels and the times you like meet with the celebrity for the photo ops and
Hmm.
the meet and greet. Um, I think some of the favorites, of course, Stan Lee.
Hmm.
Um, Watching him like throw some shade on DC was really funny. How they kept calling him D whatever and saying that what was great about Marvel was that there was definitely like it was like there's more thought put into it. You know, Superman just flies. Thor has to like wind up his hammer and throw it.
Yeah.
That's how he flies. I thought that was really funny and really clever by Stan the Man. Um, I think those are great. A big Mario fan, so like meeting the voice of Mario, Charles Martinet, and like doing the
Mm,
because when you do the photos, he like does the Mario poses with you, and
mm,
that was a lot of fun to do with him. Um, was another good one. I think like getting the autographs and having like the autographs to look at
mm,
are pretty great. I have a
Yeah.
book of a bunch of different Dragon Ball Z voice actors, and I think just seeing them like sign another part of the cover and like seeing the other, oh yeah, this person, oh yeah, hey, you have that person there, spark a little conversation with them, you know.
tight.
So yeah, those are all really great memories.
What about you, Henry?
Yeah, man, so many wonderful con memories through the years. Too many to list, really. Um, but yeah, like when you get to meet someone who is particularly special to you, that's like a cherished memory. Going all the way back when to more recently. Yeah. Like in 2014 San Diego Comic-Con, I got to meet my favorite film director, Edgar Wright. That was
Oh,
magical.
hmm.
I'll always remember that. More recently, last year, Fan Expo San Francisco, got to meet Shamik Moore, the
Hmm.
Miles Morales voice actor. That was really awesome. Um, yeah, just thinking of all the cool people I've gotten to meet at cons. Um, when there is someone who is like just particularly special to you, it really does stand out as like some of the greatest memories. In that vein, like certain panels have really stood out, and like just the variety of different panels
Hmm.
I've been at. You know, from the biggest scale stuff. So like 2024 San Diego Comic-Con, I
Mm,
was at the Marvel Studios panel, which is like legendary now. It
hmm.
was the Robert Downey Jr. Doctor
Reveal.
Doom reveal, right? And
Hmm.
it was like to this day, I'm like, I still can't believe I was there for that. And it was just a really special moment. So you talk about something really huge scale like that
Oh
to
yeah.
something very small scale, like for GalaxyCon San Jose this year and last year, I hosted panels myself, right? So
Hmm.
Christian and I hosted the Phantom Menace anniversary panel.
Hmm.
That was awesome. Just recently, I mean, what? This is like
A
days
week ago.
ago, basically.
Over
Yeah,
the
like a week
weekend,
ago.
yeah.
Rainier and I hosted the Revenge of the Sith celebration panel. And those are special moments too, right? It's sort of like, oh, we're on the other side of the mic and getting to experience this really cool thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of great panel memories for sure. And just awesome memories in general. I mean, like con memories, like these are some of the greatest memories in my life. I'm not
Hmm.
exaggerating. So Yeah, I'm glad you posed that question because there's a lot of meaningful stuff that has happened to me at these conventions.
Oh yeah, they're definitely fun. You know, those memories last for you for a long time, you know?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
like, I still one of my favorite memories was maybe not at the con, but it was during the con period was Christian. It was when it was our second con and we went back to your place after I think it was like the Friday preview or something. And Daredevil season 2 just came out and we had watched it downstairs in in your spot and I think we had like watched like 2 episodes. I think we were like, let's watch another episode. We're like, dude, no, we gotta get early. We gotta get up early the next day for Silicon Valley Comic Con. And you see, it's just who you're with, that can just make the con just so much magical, so much fun,
Yeah.
so much memorable.
Yeah, because
Yep.
I think even in our like worst like con memories, like even the with like through like kind of the horror stories that we talked about earlier,
Hmm.
just like the people around us, like kind of made the good parts shine like that much more.
Hmm. So, we both of you have kind of touched upon like celebrities, seeing celebrities at cons. Like, do you want to talk any more about like who are some cool celebrities that you gotta take photo ops or autographs with? Like for me personally, like Charlie Cox was a definitely a highlight. I saw him at Fan Expo last year. I feel like I had been manifesting that for so long since like I think my first Comic-Con experience. Like Christian and I were just like naming out people we would love to meet, and Charlie Cox was definitely on my list. So when I met him, it was so magical. He gave me a look because I asked him a question about some scene in Daredevil, but it's cool. Henry caught a cool picture of me and him fisting pumps, fist bust bumping. It's totally cool. And then seeing the voice of Spider-Man the animated series was so awesome. I felt like a little kid. I like cried in front of him. It was so magical. I know sometimes they tell you like don't meet your heroes, but sometimes it can be just fucking awesome because then you find out they're actually awesome people.
That's great.
Yeah, like
I would add to that, you know, don't meet your heroes thing, and you hear about like bad encounters like
Hmm.
out in the wild. Like in general, a celebrity doesn't want to get hassled when they're walking the streets of New York or something like that, right? But if they're at a con, they've made the conscious choice to be there. So, um, I feel like if they're there, they want to be there. And in
Or the
my
paycheck's big.
yeah, or that either way, they're there because they want to be there. Okay. So, and in my experience, that's kind of been the vibe, right? For the most part.
Okay.
So like I would say, yeah, don't feel like, oh no, like I really want to meet this person, but what if they're a total dick? Or like, what
Mm-hmm.
if it's gonna be a bad thing? Like in general, no. I would say don't worry about that because like it's the environment
Yeah.
to meet them, right?
Yeah.
So I would kind of get over that.
Hmm.
yeah. I've got a fun celebrity story.
Go for it.
like, let's see, because I think um one of the big ones I'll always remember would be Adam West and Burt Ward.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was dressed up as the Riddler. I think it was our second con, our second time at
I think it
Silicon
was,
Valley
yeah.
Comic Con.
Hmm.
It was like only a few months before Adam West tragically passed. Rest in peace. Um, so it may have been his last public appearance, and like I really had to get had to get a signature from Batman. It's Batman and Robin,
Hmm.
so I had to do it. Um, and so I'm in line for Burt Ward, and I get my comic signed by him, and he goes, "All right, hey, do you have any questions that like anything you want to ask?" And I didn't really think of anything. It was just like a little off the cuff.
Uh-huh.
This wasn't like a panel or anything. This was a signing. So I thought, I don't know. I'm dressed as the Riddler. Do you guys have a favorite Batman villain? And Burt Ward just goes, favorite villain? You can't have a favorite villain. They're the villains. They belong in Arkham Asylum.
Nice.
And I'm thinking, oh my god, that's such a Robin answer. That got a really good chuckle from me.
That's awesome for you. Like, I feel like, at least for me in my experience, sometimes when I meet celebrities, I think I could be so starstruck that I kind of freeze up, and I'm like I've met John Berthal this past year at CreepyCon, and I was just like, I didn't know what the fuck to say. I was like, dude, you're awesome. And I feel like that's all I said. Like, do you guys have any advice of what to do, like when approaching a celebrity for like an autograph or interaction?
Uh,
Um, it can definitely be tough. I would say for a panel, I would say some good advice that I read online for if you're at a celebrity panel and you want to ask them a question, they'll have two microphones and they'll usually have a line where people can go and ask them questions. I would say for that environment, no, have your question succinctly worded in your head. Maybe
Mm,
recite it once or twice before you get up there. You don't have to have it prepared before you get in, um, but know what you're gonna say before you step up to the microphone, because that's also a venue where like there's a lot of people watching you. You have
hmm
the stars there, and so you're kind of like stage fright can really hit. And so if you've already thought what you're gonna say in your mind and kind of worded it, it'd be a lot easier. But that's in that venue. That can be a little different than a like a signing or
Yeah.
a photograph, which I've definitely been. There's definitely been times I've been very starstruck and didn't know what to say
Uh-huh.
mhm.
when you see the.
Uh-huh. What were you, Henry?
Yeah, I had some thoughts. So, first off, a big question with a lot of cons is in terms of, meeting celebrities is do I do the autograph or do I do the photo op? Like that's the big question, right?
Mm, hmm
So if it's for someone you really love, maybe you just do both, right? I did that for Shamik Moore last year,
hmm
right? Fan Expo, San Francisco. But budget wise, not always feasible, right? So yeah, that question might come up a lot. Like, okay, I really want to meet this person, but how do I want to meet them? So, yeah, is it if we're talking about like con survival guide or con tips and tricks, this is key, right? Because know this with a photo op, the interaction is minimal. You take a photo,
Minimal.
and that's it. Maybe you get a quick hello and a thank you, done, right? You're not gonna have a conversation. Um, so just know that if you want to chat with this person, a photo op is not the best way to go. Like if you want to have a photo of you and this person, obviously the photo op's a choice. But if you're just really wanting to meet them and then have a quick chat, the autograph is the better option. With the autographs, you're not gonna get a ton of time either, but at least there'll be you know, a bit of chit chat can
hmm
depend on the person, right? But yeah, usually you'll get some words in. Um, so definitely something to consider. So for me, I've leaned a little more towards photo ops. One, I like having, the photo, but also in a way, I kind of like don't really want to have a conversation because I don't know, there's this weird thing of like maybe I'll say something stupid. I don't know. So maybe there's that. Maybe you prefer not to have a conversation with this person.
hmm
So that yeah. Oh, and one last thing there. Um, yeah, let's say you do want to have a quick chat, so you get the autograph. Um, like I said, you're not gonna have a lot of time. You're not gonna have like a deep hour-long conversation with this person, right? So it might be a good idea. I think we've touched upon this a bit, but of having something of a game plan. Um, like my go-to is just sort of praising them for their work. This is someone you've
Yeah,
that you respect their work, right?
yeah,
So like there's nothing wrong with gushing over how much you love what you've seen them in, right? And I think that's pretty cool. Like, so I keep going back to Shamik Moore, but I had a pretty good interaction with him when I got his autograph, and I was just telling him like how awesome he is in the Spider-Verse movies, how awesome he was in the Wu-Tang show, and I could tell he appreciated it. And then like we went to his panel, and he was really, you could tell he really appreciated like the fan love, right? So
yeah.
um like that to me is special. And I didn't have to like have this like deep conversation with them like we're best buds or something. I was just like praising him for his work, and that alone was meaningful. So there you have
Mm,
it.
cool. So something I've learned from people who don't go to cons regularly is they're surprised that when you buy a badge or ticket or pass to go to a con, that you end up spending more money at the con. They're surprised that the stuff that the vendors sell is not for free, that the celebrity prices are not for free, you know? To me, of course, like all of us have been to cons for a while, so that doesn't sur I feel like it's like second nature to us, to know that. But I've heard some people being critical of how much certain celebrities price their stuff, like $100 over. What do you have to say, Henry, to that criticism of like, yes, celebrities charging high prices for like a photo op or an autograph?
Well, that's the business side of things, and it's just how it is, really. Um, yeah, for someone who might complain about like the expensive prices for an autograph or photo op at a con, I might be like, well, um, this celebrity is probably doing a panel. I would suggest checking out their panel. It doesn't
Mm,
cost any more to do that. In most cases, we've seen some panels where you actually pay. That's kind of a thing now, but for the most part, panels are free. They come with the price of admission. So for example, um, Porfirio, you and I went to this recent GalaxyCon in San Jose, and we attended a Jeremy Renner panel, big time celebrity. We didn't pay any more, and we got to experience an hour with Jeremy Renner. It was a very cool panel.
mhm.
Didn't cost us a penny. So there you have it. And yeah, I think uh, for those who maybe don't want to pay anything beyond the price of admission, panels are really the way to go. You can end up spending a lot of money with the celebrity stuff, autographs and photos, and you can end up spending a lot of stuff on the exhibit floor, buying all kinds of cool stuff. But if you're in those panel rooms, you won't be spending anything. So that'd
They're
be my
free.
suggestion. Yeah, there you go.
Uh-huh. They're free.
Hmm.
So, Christian, what do you have any like a funny memory at a con? Something
Let's
funny that you've
see.
witnessed?
Something funny. Hmm.
I could go first if you want me,
Yeah,
if
why
you
don't you go first? Give me some time to think on it.
okay. I remember I, I think it was like the second Silicon Valley Comic Con we went to that we went to the you and me, Christian, went to the Alter Carbon panel and we sat down, but we had just checked out Artist Alley. and there was something that you had wanted to get, and it was just not leaving your mind. You're like, oh, I want to go back and get it. I was like, okay, for sure. And you left, and somebody was coming in from the doorway into the room, and you like moved to the side and then went out to go to Artist Alley to get whatever it was that you wanted. And then when you came back, I was like, dude, do you know who you let pass by you? And you're like, who? I was like, dude, it's the actor from Alter Carbon. You legit just let her pass you. And it was so funny. Like, when I saw that, like, at first I turned and like I had to take a double take. And I was like, dude, I wonder if Christian noticed that she just passed him.
I did not at the time. Like, I don't even remember what it was that I had to get. Um, but I don't or why I decided to go get that at that specific moment. And I think I was just so laser focused that I
You
wasn't, like,
re
paying attention
Yeah,
that the actress, like, was walking in at that time, and I'm just like, "Oh, sorry."
yeah.
What was ahead, and I, like, had to leave.
Uh-huh.
I paid no attention. So, like, when you walk by a star sometimes, you don't expect them, to be there, so 'cause there was another time, I think it was the last WonderCon, we kinda just walked by someone, you're like, I remember I was like, "Oh, that guy looked a little familiar, but it's probably nobody." And then Henry goes, "Dude, that was Rob Liefeld." You're, "Wait, what? Really?"
What?
"Yeah,
Right.
Rob Liefeld just
Yeah.
walked by." And
Was
then
I
I
there?
think yeah, you were there too.
How come I don't
We were,
remember
like, talking
this?
about something, and we walked by, and, like, he we were walking into the hotel, and
Oh yeah, okay,
he
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
walked
yeah.
he was walking the other direction, and we are like, "Dude, that was Rob Liefeld."
Oh
And
yeah.
then, like, I think, like, later that day or no, it was, like, the next night or something, we were walking by, same area of the hotel, and then, like, I saw, like, Jim Lee was there, like, the Jim Lee,
That's right. I remember
and,
that too.
like, um, that one I had to double take. I'm like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." Like, this is the Jim Lee right in front of me, like, the CEO of DC, like, one of the best, like, comic book artists ever, and I'm like I start freaking out, like, I recognized him, so I was just like, "Oh," and I had to double take, and I think, like, we locked eyes for a second, and I just, like
Oh wow.
I was like, "Oh, hi," and I think I did a quick wave, and then we kept walking. So I think, well, yeah, walking by a celebrity, it's something that like does not happen very often at these cons.
Yeah.
It's like the celebrities kind of have they come in and out. Sometimes they might be you might catch them walking around, but uh, very very minimal.
Hmm.
So when it does happen, when you do have those like brushes like you had with Stan Lee, they're kind of like the most of you. Oh my god!
Yeah.
Like oh, my heart.
Yeah. What about you, Henry? Any cool, funny memory?
Yeah. Yeah, with these cons, we normally associate like geeking out, right? Meeting this person that we would have never thought we would ever meet, right? And they're very special to us, or finding something very cool to bring home. But a lot of funny stuff, like laugh out loud kind of stuff, has happened as well. And so I had a few examples. So one is back in 2016, Rainier and I attended a panel for the show Silicon Valley,
Mm.
and this was in San Diego Comic Con. And it is hands down the funniest panel I've ever been to, and just like hands down one of the funniest things I've ever been to. So it was like nearly the entire cast. I mean, I'm talking like Kumail Nanjiani was there, Thomas Middleditch. I think all the primary cast except for I believe Martin Starr was there. Mike Judge was on the panel also, and it was just like these comedic geniuses going to work. Like they were just
Hmm.
putting on a show, and this packed room was just we were just laughing our asses off for a full hour. And
Mhm.
yeah, a lot of these actors are trained comedy improv actors, and it really showed. Like they were like just so sharp and just like off the cuff, like busting out jokes. And it was so awesome. I remember it's cool too. Rainier and I were actually wearing like shirts, that Pied Piper shirts from the show, and we were really into it. And yeah, I remember we met some other guys wearing uh Silicon Valley themed t-shirts, and we all took a picture, and the whole experience was really awesome. And like I said, the panel itself was hands down the funniest panel I've ever been to. So there are two like close runners up though. Um One is one you guys have been that you guys attended with me. This was the Invader Zim panel
Oh
last
my
year
gosh,
at
dude.
Yeah, I
GalaxyCon
was
San
just thinking
Jose.
that.
Oh my God, so funny. So like it was really cool in that like all the primary players were there. Like the creator, Jonan Vasquez was there, and like all the main voice cast was there too. And like it's hard to explain, but basically it was everything you would guess an Invader Zim panel might be. It was like total mayhem, right? And it had like the vibe of watching an Invader Zim show. And
Yeah,
it was just really hilarious and out of control. It was almost like too chaotic, but it was very, very funny and
yeah.
memorable. Yeah, yeah. The other one, I think you guys went to this one also, and it was kind of funny in a train wreck way. It was the Terminator panel we went to at
Oh.
Silicon Valley Comic Con. So, yeah, yeah. Let's talk about this. So, this was 2019. I kind of looked it up recently, but 2019, the final year of Silicon Valley Comic Con. So, interesting in that it was pretty cool because it was a Terminator themed panel, and a lot of past actors from Terminator movies were there. So Edward Furlong from T2, Kristana Loken from T3 was there, Robert Patrick from T2 was there.
Hmm.
A lot of people were wondering if Arnold Schwarzenegger himself might be there because he was like at that con, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so there was some speculation he was not on the panel, kind of disappointing. Um, but it was still cool in that all these like past Terminator actors were there. But what no one expected was Edward Furlong to go like completely batshit crazy on that panel.
Hmm.
So he was like, I don't know, going through some stuff, but he was like vaping on stage, and he was kind of like unburdening himself about like all his past career failures. And it was a very weird vibe. Um, there was some other weird shit that happened on that panel too, where like I mentioned how Robert Patrick and Kristana Loken were there. Like Robert Patrick was like oddly like weird with her. He like kept calling out how hot she is or something. Like
Hmm.
the whole thing was just weird and like probably the biggest train wreck of a panel I've ever witnessed. But honestly, I was like laughing the whole time. I was like enjoying myself at the train wreck aspect of it all. So yeah, a lot of funny memories at these cons.
Yeah, the John Connor actor, he was an asshole. He was
I
an
mean,
asshole.
he was kind of disrespecting uh everything. Like
Yeah.
disrespectful of life itself.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So I want to wrap up soon, but before I do, I feel like Henry, since you're the only one who's been to San Diego Comic Con out of the three of us, and that's like the biggest con, what advice do you have for San Diego Comic Con in terms of like, I guess, yeah, getting your badges and planning, you know, because
Yeah.
it is a whole other experience than just going to GalaxyCon or Fan Expo or even WonderCon, you know? It's a whole nother level, you know? So briefly, what kind of advice do you have for anyone listening that wants to check out San Diego Comic Con?
All right. So tips for San Diego. So my tips for San Diego, I would say, are my tips for basically any fan convention, really. And that is don't try to do everything. I think this applies particularly to San Diego, but I do think it applies to all fan conventions. With San Diego, it's a huge mega convention. There is tons, tons, tons to do. There are huge crowds, so it can be very overwhelming. Don't try to do everything. You physically cannot do everything, right? So don't even bother trying. So earlier we were talking about like planning things out, and I mentioned how, yes, plan things out, but don't get like obsessive about it. So previously with San Diego, I would get kind of obsessive about it. I would go into a lot of detail, bust out like Excel spreadsheets and plan my days. Um, and it it was kind of overwhelming, like I would always get this sense of missing out on stuff because, like I've been saying, it is impossible to do everything. It's impossible to do everything. It's impossible even to do everything you want to do, right? So
Mhm.
you are going to miss out on stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you got to go in with the expectation that you're not going to be able to do everything. And like nowadays, I like to go in with like like a short list, like m maybe like each day one thing that's like, okay, I got to do this one thing. If I do that one thing, I'm good.
Mm.
And then like maybe two or three other things like would be nice if I get to it. Um, I kind of advocate that mindset because inevitably, you're gonna do that one thing, and you're probably gonna knock out a couple of those nice to haves. And guess what? You're probably gonna get to experience some cool shit that you weren't expecting, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, don't try to do everything. That's my main advice.
Got you. Got you.
Good
S-
advice.
Good advice. So, my second to last question, Christian, what kind of joy do you get from going to Comic-Con? Talk about the feeling. Why do you like going so much?
Ooh.
For someone like, I don't know, like our parents, at least my mom, who doesn't get it, and maybe a friend that doesn't go to con, how would you explain the joy that you get from going to con?
Oh, yeah, it's a hard question because it can be hard to explain what it is in words. I guess like we have the entire podcast that kind of goes around it, but to distill it down into like a couple sentences, I think would be a little difficult. But it's like seeing fandom in action.
Mm,
It's seeing the cosplays, the creators, the fan art, the exhibit floor of everything,
hmm.
like all these different fandoms kind of coming together, whether it is superheroes, anime,
Yeah.
like everything nerdy, come together and like just kind of all exist in one place and seeing like it's like almost like imagine like kind of you go to like Las Vegas
Hmm.
and you see all the bright lights, like all the different buildings that are like, oh, that one looks like the pyramid. That's the statue, things like that, like the Ferris wheel. You see all um, these different nerdy fandoms kind of come together, and I
Hmm.
think it doesn't. You don't have to be involved with all of them. In fact, it's cool to see the ones you're not involved in and see you kind of get a glimpse into what that's like. You know,
Hmm. Hmm.
different shows you may not be into,
Yeah.
different um, walks of life you just never experienced, as well as connecting with what you do like.
Hmm.
Um, Seeing a really cool cosplay of a character you really like, or seeing a really cool fan art piece, or meeting creator, voice actor, actor, um, of something you do really like and having that joy of like saying like, "Oh my god, I love this thing that you were a part of."
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
it's all of that kind of brought together into like this singular experience.
Hmm.
So that's the joy of comic conventions.
Same question to you, Henry. What is the joy that you
Mhm.
get from going to Comic-Con?
Yeah, well said, Christian. I agree with everything you just mentioned, and my answer is just kind of an extension of that, where these fan conventions are really a unique way to experience a a collective belonging in fandom. You
Hmm.
know, like belonging is pretty important, and it's kind of tough to get that, right? And it's one thing to uh connect with people online, but with the in-person experience, it's like a whole nother level, right? And you really get that with these
Hmm.
conventions, and
Hmm.
you get it in different ways, right? Just being in a room with like-minded fellow fans can be awesome. I mentioned that Marvel Studios panel I went to in San Diego last year. I mean, that was really special, not just because, these huge Hollywood stars are there, but also the collective vibe, right? So when Robert Downey Jr. took off the mask, it wasn't just
Hmm.
about him. It was about the thousands of other people in the room and the
Yeah.
gasping and just we're all here experiencing this. I can't believe it
Hmm.
aspect of it all, right? And then like we've been talking about cosplay also, and like that's a huge like collective community belonging type experience too, right?
Yeah.
Where there are a lot of like specific things you can get at a convention. You can get a celebrity's autograph, you can get a cool uh uh, piece of merchandise from the exhibit floor. But there's like these experiences too that you can get, right? And they can be like really epic and mind blowing, like some of the celebrity encounters we've been talking about. But they can also be like little moments, like someone saying to you, "Hey, that's a great costume. Love that."
Yeah.
And that's it, right? No photo or anything beyond that. That is huge too. Like, I've been noticing this more in recent years, where these little interactions with fellow attendees can be pretty special, and we're talking about stuff you can do for free at conventions. It's that interacting with other attendees, fellow
Yeah.
fans, right? And that can be totally cool. And and I've found more important than I had thought previously. Like before, the focus was really okay. I gotta meet this celebrity. I gotta go to this panel. I gotta like get this exclusive merch, whatever. But now it's like, oh, just the vibe of it. The vibe of it all
Yeah.
is huge. And with that, like I've been valuing like the attitude and personalities of my fellow congoers a lot more. And I've tried to go out of my way to like praise other cosplayers and just
Yeah.
like chat with other folks in a positive way. And that is a huge part of the joy in these cons.
Very well said. Very well said. I agree with both of you. I think, just going to a con and just being with the community is just so nice. Like Christian was saying, like you get to talk to somebody, like it's cool to just wait in line for like a panel and just kind of strike up a conversation with like the person behind you about like, hey, did you watch like the latest episode of Demon Slayer? Like, what'd you think? Oh yeah, I also hate this character or whatever. And just strike up the randomest conversations. And it's just a lot of fun that like, you know, in a world where it's weird sometimes to dress up, or like this, going to a con just feels like a safe place where you could be who you want to be, geek out with your friends and fellow con goers. But honestly, like I find a lot of joy going to the con with you guys. I've gone to a few cons by myself, and it's just not the same if you don't go with friends that you could like geek out with and like complain with and uh with towards the end of the day. It's really the company that you find and go with, you know?
Amen.
So my last question, we I feel like we've gave a lot of good advice, a lot of good tips throughout this episode, but Christian, in two or three advice, what do you wish you told yourself at your first con?
Hmm.
Two or three things out of the whole
Out of everything
the
we said,
everything we've talked about.
um, let's see. I would say you can't do everything is probably the biggest thing because there's so much to see, so much to do, so much to buy, so much to buy.
Hmm.
Giving yourself time for all the other things, that would probably be the number one thing I would say. Um, is just if there's always the next one.
Hmm. Hmm.
Don't worry about doing everything now. You can always come back. Find what you want to do the most and just stick to making sure those happen.
Hmm.
Um, I would say that's the first one. Um, and I guess the second one is, of course, I guess an extension of that, budget accordingly. I,
Amen.
I think those would be the two big ones.
Okay. What about you, Henry? Two or three?
Two or three. Yeah, I got a couple. One is, I would say to a young Henry Lou, or really any first time con goer, there really isn't a right or wrong way to do this, you
Mm,
know?
Hmm.
And in that vein, I would say you don't necessarily need to do what other people are doing.
hmm.
This is kind of specific to San Diego, but I would say in general for cons. Like in San Diego, there's like this huge FOMO thing where everyone's looking for the big thing. Like it's almost like people see a line and the longer it is, the better, right? Like
Mm,
that's got to be good. Whatever, like what are you in line for? This has got to be good. I'm gonna line up too, you know. And like in my mind, not the best strategy because what some people like, you may not be into so much. And I would argue, even something a lot of people are into, you're not necessarily going to get a lot out of it. So, like, especially like the most popular stuff, if you're waiting in line forever for something or you're spending a lot of money for something, um, it's not necessarily gonna be the best thing for you. So, yeah, I would say really like find what's best for you. There, like going back to what I said earlier, there isn't this scripted like right way to do this, wrong way to do this. You do you, you know. If your thing is just going to panels, that's cool.
hmm.
If you like really like meeting celebrities, that's cool. You do you. Like there are like like a big theme is surfacing, but there are tons of things to do at these conventions. So there is awesomeness to be had, right? But what is awesome for one person isn't necessarily awesome for another person. So stick with what you dig, and maybe you don't know. And that's another thing. Uh, Conventions are awesome for discovering shit too, right? So there's that component as well. So again, there really isn't a right or wrong way of doing it, and I definitely I definitely advocate not necessarily going with what is most popular at the moment.
Cool. Cool. The 2 points I would take away that I kind of wish I told myself when I first started, and anyone that's just starting to go to con is one, pre-plan everything. Like, look at the
Hmm.
program. If you want to get celebrity autograph or photo op, make time of when you're going to do it. Look at the panels. Again, you don't have to be married to um, a panel unless you really want to, but just have an idea of what you want your day to look at. You do not have to stick to it, but just get some ideas so you're not like figuring some stuff out last minute, or going with the flow. Plan out your day. Nothing wrong with that. Again, you do not have to stick with it. But the second thing is just have fun. Just have fun at the con. Like that's what people go for. Don't let someone else like dictate how you should or shouldn't experience it. Like a con, everybody's experience makes it their own with however they want. If you want to cosplay, cosplay. If you want to sp- we said budget, but if you want to spend a lot of money, go ahead and spend a lot of money. But just have fun. At the end of the day, just have fun. Just so, you know, cons don't happen that often in the year, so it lets us connect to that inner geeky part of us, that inner child. So just have fun. That's what I say. Just have fun.
Indeed.
So with that, we can wrap up this episode. Farewell from Porfirio, Henry, and Christian.